Hello, hello, hello! Welcome to Kaijutopia! I'm Tom. I'm a stop-motion artist, bringing the Godzilla multiverse to life through epic animations, comic book breakdowns, power ranking videos, and more. If you love monsters, motion, and mayhem, you come to the right place. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, interact. This is a live stream. Unless you're from the future, then hi. How's the future going? Let us know. Hope that everything is going cool. How's everyone doing? Talistan, good to see you. Yeah, earlier today I went to see Shin Godzilla 4K at the movie theater. I went with one of my best friends. He liked it. He thought it was a good movie. Lots of, of course, the release is in Japanese, but with English subtitles, so lots of reading. And his first, I believe this was the first time he saw it, so his first impression was a lot more favorable than my first impression. My first viewing experience was kind of a disaster. I had really terrible movie seats, and I was too close to the screen and at a really awkward angle, so when that happens and you're trying to read all these subtitles while simultaneously paying attention to a rather fast-paced movie with like 20-30 characters, it was a bit too much. It was like sensory overload, right? So I wasn't overly fond of Shin Godzilla the first time I saw it, but I kind of felt like that was mainly due to reasons that go beyond just the scope of whether or not it's a good movie. And of course, I've seen it so many times since then. It's one of my favorite Godzilla films. But I gotta say, man, movie theaters. As much as I love going to the movie theater as, any chance I get, but, yeah, super expensive, like, food, drinks, all of that. I'm just I didn't get anything. My buddy was very kind, he offered, but, at the time I was, I didn't really need anything, but I'm just kind of like, wow. When you look at the prices and I feel like there is a direct correlation between just how insanely expensive it is to go to the theater, especially when you're going with another person or taking your family. And also, when you couple that with the fact that even though, I love reserved seating, I think that's a great plan. Past Tom would have liked that very much when he first saw this movie back in like 2016. But like, I gotta say that when your showtime starts at 1 o'clock, which is what my showtime was supposed to be, but it's like 30 minutes of previews, it kind of makes you think, why say the movie begins at 1? I don't know. I don't understand. And also, movie theaters, you really need to check your audio because it is outlandish that your previews are like 5 times louder than the actual movie. So that was not fun. But yeah, I had an overall enjoyable experience, but I do think if movie theaters are going to survive, make it, and maybe they'll still be around, in the years to come. But I think if they're going to try and take things up a notch, make it to the next level, I think they should kind of emulate Barnes and Noble's plan. So I don't know when the last time you guys have been to a Barnes and Noble, but it's for quite a while now. It's been more than just a bookstore. It's kind of like a family store. They have toys, they have a bunch of things to offer, and I think movie theaters should kind of emulate that sort of framework. Like, imagine walking into a movie theater, and the one that we went to, by the way, had arcade games, which is great. That's good. but it should something be movie related as well. So, you know, I would probably consider something like, I don't know, having more than like it being able to get good deals off of movies or something along those lines. It would be pretty cool to find collectibles and such. That but that might be too much of a stretch. But I don't mind the movie ticket prices. Just make food and drink affordable and make the movie play on time. Like, the preview should be like 10 minutes max. And even that's pushing it. I'm here to see a movie, not to... let's just... 99% of the previews anyway are generally, you know, not something most of your audience is going to like anyway. I don't know if that last part is true. I kind of just made that up, but you know, hey, I'm just a hack, know-it-all YouTuber. What can I say? Sean, it's good to see you, buddy. One thing my cousin said that struck with me about Shin Godzilla is the old versus new generation, how the older politicians just shoot at Godzilla while the younger people are actually thinking. I mean, it's kind of divisive because you got a number of characters in this movie who absolutely, you could tell 100% were very gung-ho about blowing Godzilla up. I mean, this movie is infamous for having so many meetings, so many boardroom meetings. Sometimes they would have a meeting to plan a meeting. But there were times, especially at the start, when it became clear that this is no like natural disaster that is facing Japan. It's more, it's a giant living creature. So you had a number of characters, old and young alike, who wanted to blow Godzilla Kingdom Come. And I understand what I just said might be, oh, well, that's what she said. But it's kind of like, it's a good observation. I think it's less about, because my takeaway from that would be like older generations might be more violent, whereas younger generations try and think up and develop more effective solutions. But then I'm kind of like, old, new alike can be violent and shoot first, ask questions never. And I think part of the thing about this movie and today's impression that I had is when I started like paying attention more or less to the main character Rando Yaguchi, who we could see here chilling right here, you know, kind of posing with Godzilla in the background. This is like the baller of like selfies if I ever saw one. I mean, if Shin Godzilla really happened, I would absolutely go to this spot in Japan and try and get a selfie. But so throughout the start, like for the first two acts, Rando is a bit Yaguchi, he's a bit hot-headed. You can tell his heart is in the right place, but he also at times was rather smug and kind of a loose cannon, kind of hot-headed at times. He would kind of berate his own subordinates, people who are, you know, just doing their jobs or doing their best. And over time, he kind of became I think we started seeing kind of like the leader he was going to become. And of course, his whole thing is to maybe become the Prime Minister of Japan in like 10 years. Although this movie was back in 2016 and now we're almost at 2026. So hey, Rando Yaguchi, it's almost time to become Prime Minister of Japan, right? But the main overall point is, you know, he's young, but by the time he still has so much more to learn. And the old guard likewise have a lot to learn as well. So, you know, in the end, they kind of do make plans. A lot of the old cabinet make plans to, you know, pave the way for the youngster, the youth. And I thought that was really cool. I did prepare slides, so I know we all like this shot. I mean, I could probably just keep this here all day, the entire stream, and it would be very fitting. And now I'm tempted to do that. I should have thought of that sooner. It would make my job easier, so I could just ramble and ramble. It's what did you guys used to call it? This is like last year. Tomologuing. You know, I'm Tom and I like to monologue, so Tomologue. It's a stream. What else am I gonna do? And I gotta say, I'm a little I kind of feel a little kind of thinking this could be a lot. I did a 3-hour stream yesterday going over, you know, my recent Godzilla power ranking list and such. So if you were there, if you've seen it, cool. Thank you so much for giving it, you know, your time. If my voice crashes, I'm gonna be heading out sooner. This will not be a 2-3 hour stream for sure. But like, I do have another one planned tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we're going to be doing a Millennium Era Godzilla Battle Royal tournament, so that should be a lot of fun. I mean, the Showa Heisei tournaments were enjoyable, so that's going to be a hoot. But, you know, Shin Godzilla. I thought this would be a fun stream just to sit back, chill, and talk about the Shin of Godzillas. Sean says, I can't choose which one is better, Shin Gojira or -1, because each film does something better than the other. Kind of like, I guess one way to look at it is to not try to, you know, choose which one's better. I mean, maybe it's better is not the right way to go about it. They are two vastly different films. They have, there's compatibility, of course. They have memorable human characters. I mean, I would say Godzilla -1's cast is far more relatable, and I mean, there are fewer in number, so you have more time to relate to them and get to know them and feel for them. Whereas, like, with Shin Godzilla's human cast, we really begin to just jump into their lives, like, right in the middle, as they basically have to respond to this emergency that begins to not only intensify and endanger the citizens of Tokyo, but also Japan as a whole. And then, of course, it escalates, and then suddenly it becomes a global conflict with these characters at the front and center, at the literal, I guess I would just say at the very heart of the issue. And, or I guess what my brain was trying to get to was just saying, like, at the eye of the storm, right? These guys are there on the ground, and they all have different jobs, different sort of, you know, responsibilities. And we literally hit the ground running with so many of these characters. Originally, I was planning on naming every single character here, but really, I'm just going to talk about my favorite characters from this movie. So on the left, we have Rando Yaguchi, who's the protagonist. And then on the right is Kyoko Patterson. She is a co-protagonist. These two are very interesting, and I thought they in certain respects, they reflected the other. They're kind of, they do even bluntly state that they kind of see the other, you know, at least from a political standpoint, as their respective counterpart. Like, Rando plans on becoming Prime Minister of Japan. Kyoko, her father is I believe a U.S. senator. So she is both American and Japanese. She has dual citizenship. She plans on becoming the first 40-year-old United States president. Now, that to me was kind of you know, even from my very first viewing, one of the things that kind of distracted me the most about this movie is when not just Kyoko or any of the no offense intended for any of the actors, they all did an incredible job, but one of the things that really kind of was hard to accept is when the characters started speaking English, and it's pretty obvious that these actors might know a little bit of English. I mean, it is something they learn in school, but they're not like you could tell they're not fluent, if that makes sense. And so when they speak English, I mean, to us English speakers, it's pretty clear they're not very. This is not like something they do on a regular basis, which is probably the point of the movie itself. Rando, when his character starts speaking English, you could tell it's like something this guy rarely does. I mean, for the record, if suddenly I have a speaking role in a Japanese film and I start speaking Japanese, I'm pretty sure 99.9% of everybody in the audience is going to be like, this guy is not very good with his Japanese. He literally just memorized the lines, right? But so I get it when Rando and the other characters started speaking English. It's a little clear that okay, this is not they're not fluent, but that's okay, I guess. But Kyoko is a little bit different because of her dual citizenship and the fact that she lives in the United States and she has aspirations of becoming a United States president. I mean, her father is a senator. She clearly I mean, no disrespect towards the actress. It's just that it's clear that when she talks, she doesn't sound fluent. It honestly sounds like she's just started learning English, for just within the last few weeks or month. It's not. It's a minor nitpick. It doesn't take me out of the movie, but it's absolutely. But I do think it's important to bring up because part of her character's motivation is becoming, a leader of the United States. And for the record, I would absolutely vote for Kyoko Patterson. She seems to be far, way more qualified for this, especially since she helped stop Godzilla. So that to me is you're hired. Here's my vote. But she clearly wasn't really good at speaking English, which makes it harder for her character and a bit more unfair in a sense because that's kind of that's part of her character, right? So that aside, I really did enjoy both of these characters. I thought they complemented each other really well. It's interesting to see two sides of the same coin, from Rando coming at this from a Japanese perspective and Kyoko coming from more of a not just American, but kind of a international perspective, because she clearly has her own political aspirations, her own motives, her own dreams. But one of the major character establishing moments that won her over for me was when that won her is when I'm getting tongue twisted, but when she basically decided, I'm going to help Japan. I'm going to put aside my dreams, my political dreams and goals of the future, and I want to help my mother's homeland, right? My mother's home. And I thought that was really great. And it was a nice scene. Into the Depths, good to see you. Jean, hello, good to see you as well. Sean said earlier, another thing my cousin pointed out that I didn't realize at first is how similar Shin Godzilla and Destroya are in terms of origins and how they function. I mean, Shin Godzilla absolutely kind of goes through a number of different transformations that you could definitely compare to Destroya, Hedorah as well. It's definitely something that we had never really seen for the Godzilla character, and it's something that I hope to get into soon once I'm finished, talking about some of the human element. And for the record, we here at Kaijutopia are very pro-human in monster movies. I love me Godzilla. I love kaiju. I mean, it's in the name, kaiju topia. I mean, it's right here, right there, right? Yeah, pointing at it. There it is. Okay, but I am not like ever going to be in favor of removing human characters from monster movies. Like anyone that says like, "Hey, we want just the monsters," like, haha, that's funny, that's cute. Yeah, bring on the monsters. But if they're super serious, no, I'm not with you. No, sorry, not sorry. I think the human element is absolutely critical. It's fundamental. Without the human, I mean, I'm human, so you might say I'm a little biased, but you know, I would counter that with I'm just highly educated on this subject. But anyway, let's continue. My favorite character is, hands down, Hiromi Ogashira. Hiromi is this scientist who's recruited to join Rando's scientific division task force, and she is just a gem. At first, it seems like she's very like, I would describe her as being appearing like less emotional, less invested in you know, she's definitely not an extroverted person. You know, I find that relatable. But to me, what really made her such an interesting character, and I honestly wish she was the main character, because from her, like, or at least maybe like it would be really, I guess if she had more screen time, that would have been great too. But what made her such a compelling character for me is that she was very matter of fact. She was very thorough. She was very observant. She was able to express her, you know, her expertise in a way that we, the audience, can not only understand, but we can actually think and interpret for ourselves. But it gets even more interesting because really, for most of the movie, here's this introvert. She's kind of like, she only seems to have just one expression on her face, which is kind of what you're seeing here. But then near the end of the movie, when she makes the discovery that Godzilla's unique radiation isotope has like, it only has like a few years maximum of a lifespan, which means they can not only rebuild Tokyo, they can recolonize it, right? They can like have people return back to their homes, as opposed to sadly what happened at Fukushima, which this movie was inspired by, the 2011 Fukushima nuclear reactor disaster. That is something to touch upon in due time. But I do think Hiromi is, when she discovered the fact that Godzilla's radiation has you know, an expiration, she smiled, and I swear it's the only time, not only the only time she smiled in the entire movie, I think she's like literally the only character I remember smiling. It was so rewarding. It was something that I thought was it really shows that there's more to a person than just a first impression. There's more to us than meets the eye. And this is kind of like the whole point. I kind of feel like these characters as a whole, though they are individuals, they all have their own unique personalities, their own goals and such. I think what really is my takeaway from the Shin Godzilla human cast is that they all, as a collective, represent Japan as a whole. And I think that is something really that really plays a prominent role in this movie. Is to see all these characters working together, because divided we fall, but when we stand together, when we unite against a common, not just a common problem, but a common enemy, like in this case Godzilla, we can accomplish wonders. And to see all these people represent their country in a way that is both inspiring, productive, and positive. is really something that I thought was that I have always really liked that about this movie. And I think Hiromi definitely represents the best of that. And I consider her super relatable. She's really cool, and I think we should have seen more of this character. Let's see what else. Reading some comments here. Sean says in Shin Godzilla, the human drama is not really needed like it is in -1, but what human drama we do get works great. -1 focuses on individual characters, while Shin focuses on Japan as a whole. See, I do, especially, I mean, funny, Sean, it's like we're like of one mind, especially with the last part. But I would disagree with the part about the human drama not really being needed. But then I think I get what you mean by drama. You mean that in the colloquial, like, there's no time for, like, petty feuds or, you know, just to, you know, keep the plot moving. These characters are pretty much all super professional, and they don't seem to stop, right? They, whatever grievances they have, they express it, and then they all take a deep breath and then continue because they have a job to do. So I get that part, but I do think this movie still has that, and it's human, like, that drama, that element is always just part of what it means to be human, and I think it's still pretty, I think this movie does a really good job at handling it. Into the Depths says, agreed, it's super important. I'm guessing Into the Depths is agreeing about my comment about how, you know, the human element is crucial to these movies. Sean is saying, video idea, Shin Godzilla versus Destroya versus Hedorah. I love that idea. And, okay, so Sean and Jean are talking, so that's cool. Okay, so I'm going to continue on here. One last thing, talking about some of the other human characters here. I really liked Kunio Hazama. It's a great supporting role. The actor did such a great job. He was very expressive, had a lot of... I loved his, you know, eureka moment where he, you know, earlier we had, you know, Hiromi here. She hypothesized that Godzilla's energy source is nuclear fusion. And of course, Kunio here is all like, that's impossible. But then later he realized when looking at Godzilla's path of destruction through Tokyo, at least the first time, it perfectly coincides with radiation, detections and such. And he has this big, like, moment, you know, where this is such shocking news. And, you know, to his credit, he immediately apologized because, you know, he was wrong. And I think that was a good character establishing moment. And I totally love this guy. There are a lot of great human characters in this. We could get into it more in time. But, I guess the first thing that I want to say before we get to the G-Man is hit that like button. Whether you like Shin Godzilla, I'm pretty sure you like Godzilla. So hit that like for the Godzilla that we all love and want to see continue stomping or something. What? I mean, every once in a while, I do say something that sounds like I should have seriously rehearsed it better. I mean, earlier I gave some of these characters such a hard time for, you know, not being, you know, fluent in their English, yet here I am sounding like I was just born yesterday and I'm just learning it for the first time. And yeah, that is the case. Alright, so we are coming to Godzilla here. Now, I guess I should just point out, Shin Godzilla is directed by Hideko Anno, who's known for being the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion. He would later go on to, you know, bring Evangelion back in the rebuild of Evangelion movie series. I'm a huge fan of Evangelion, but as I told my buddy earlier, kind of hate talking about Evangelion with Evangelion fans because it could be very it's just draining. Like, my AT field is just not strong enough or something. But anyway, when I heard the news that Hideko Anno is going to be directing a Godzilla movie, I'm just like, holy moly, what are we in for? And sure enough, my first impression of seeing the Shin Godzilla design, this is his fourth form. It's still, I guess, before -1, I would say that Shin Godzilla was being touted as being the new face of Godzilla. I mean, he was everywhere. And we're still seeing him, but I do feel like Shin Godzilla's kind of started to, given the way greater success of Godzilla -1, it looks like Shin Godzilla might be kind of slowly becoming more forgotten, which is a pity because it's a great movie and it's a great design. Oh, hold on. We're gonna have Sean specify something we were talking about earlier. Sean says, what I mean by the human drama isn't needed is that Shin Gojira didn't need to spend a lot of personal time with them like we did with the characters in -1 to keep the plot going. Okay, gotcha, Sean. Yeah, okay, that's well said. So when I first saw the Shin Godzilla design, I kind of felt this kind of combination of sadness and terror. Like, I love Godzilla. I'm man enough to admit it. Godzilla is a big deal to me, and I know he's an imaginary character. Okay. But, it still sucks sometimes to see one of your favorite characters, in this case, my all-time favorite character, look like he's in a lot of pain. And that's pretty much Shin Godzilla in a nutshell. He is in a tremendous amount of pain. Despite being a god incarnate, he looks more like a cancerous-ridden, terrifying, prehistoric abomination that, sure, if left to his own devices, he could easily surpass the human race, become the dominant force on the planet, and possibly beyond. It doesn't change the fact that this Godzilla is in a great deal amount of pain, but he seems to be intelligent. I mean, he's one of this god. Shin Godzilla is known for a lot of things, like his I have a lot of slides to get into, but Shin Godzilla is known for a lot of things. I mean, his destruction scenes are just the stuff of legends. I mean, when I look at this shot right here, I'm just blown away, and I can't help but wonder, okay, as a VFX artist myself, looking at this immediately makes my brain melt. This is such a unique, incredible shot. And even though for the making of Shin Godzilla they made an animatronic, it looked amazing. They were thinking about going down the more traditional tokusatsu path. Ultimately, they went ahead and decided to make Godzilla fully CG. And I'm gonna segue here real quick because I think this is a bit more interesting. But part of the reason why there are still a segment of Godzilla fans that are very anti-CG and, very pro-tokusatsu is because, and this is just my opinion, it's not like, I'm going to be, if you fact check me, I don't think I'm going to I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be able to, prove anything, but opinion-wise, I think the reason why there are still segments of the Godzilla fandom that absolutely hate CG and get triggered by it is because of the fact that before the huge success of the MonsterVerse, of Godzilla -1, of Shin Godzilla, For quite a number of, like, when we were all younger, being a Godzilla fan would literally be met with vitriol. Like, it was not cool to be a Godzilla fan. It was not cool to like Godzilla or tokusatsu at all. Now, maybe in Japan it was, it's the birthplace of tokusatsu, of the art of the cinematic live action art form. Fair enough. But for quite a number of us, it was always kind of like a bit of a, man, if I talk about how much I like Godzilla, I was usually met with laughter or stares or something, because like it was just not cool. And not only was it not cool, it was like seen as something that was like beneath you, as like if you were like a film elitist, like you were the kind of person who would just quite literally think that your views on movies transcend everything in life, and bringing up that you liked Godzilla would just be met with scorn. And I think there are still fans that remember those days, remember hearing how every time they would go, I like Godzilla, we would always hear the same answer: Godzilla is fake. And it's like, I think fans still hold that against CG. Especially there are fans that are extremely reluctant to see Godzilla go full CG. It's gonna stay, it's not gonna change. We still do get like classic tokusatsu Godzilla, and I love it. I mean, the Godzilla Fest short movies, for example, and it would not surprise me to see more of that, something like that, in the near future. But I do think that's one massive reason why so many fans might be a little bit, still to this day, a bit reluctant to accept CG. But I think the sort of outcry, there used to have been, like, at least on the internet, it used to have been far more of a kind of a hotly divided sort of discussion or disagreement, whereas nowadays, just seeing how Godzilla has ascended in a way that so many of us, for most of our lives, could only dream of, that, and the fact that the quality is so damn good, like Shin Godzilla, for the most part. I mean, having seen it several times and analyzing it as a VFX artist and such, I'm just still blown away by what they were able to achieve. And it's a lot to do with the co-director, Shinji Higuchi, a film director. He would go on to direct Shin Ultraman, another great film. I've shared my thoughts on that in a video from a couple years back, so check that out if you're interested. But Shinji Higuchi is just a VFX wizard. This guy, he single-handedly made the Heisei Gamera trilogy stand the test of time. I mean, obviously, I don't think I would give him sole responsibility for that, bragging rights and all, but the man is like a maverick. He's been ahead of the game, and has practically taken, like, if you removed him from the equation, from Shin Godzilla or the Heisei Gamera movies or GMK, like, those films would suffer tremendously, like, quality-wise. Alright, let's take a moment. Let's do what Kong says. Like, subscribe, and support, or it's Skull Island for your Wi-Fi. Sean says Toho should seriously let Takuya Inishi do a Godzilla anime and Kazuhiro Nakagawa do a tokusatsu show. Let the fans help with crowdfunding too. Yeah, that seems like a pretty good idea. I would say, like, as far as crowdfunding goes, I'm kind of like, when a major studio crowdfunds, I can't help but, like, kind of, narrow my eyes, kind of like what I'm doing right now. I get a little suspicious, like, oh, really? Why, you just want your customers to pay for your production? Okay, I mean, what are the perks? But also, can we make sure that we get to... Is this going to be an exclusive deal for the fans who crowdfunding it, or is this for everybody? That sort of thing. Don't mind me, Sean. I'm just kind of ranting about some Kickstarter projects in the past that kind of take the fun away, ruin the whole thing for everybody. But fear not, we will endure, we will survive, we will continue talking about the Shin Godzillas. I just love this movie's cinematography. I mean, just so many great composite shots like this. This shot, and there are so many more. I'll touch upon some of my favorites, but this is so... Oh, it's so well done. It's so well composed. And just how ominous is it? I mean, there are so many jaw-dropping shots that we can get to. And also the angle. Check this one out. Just so many times throughout this movie, Shin Godzilla, I mean, he, at the time, I think was this before or after the Godzilla Earth Polygon trilogy? I think this was a little bit before. But there was a time when Shin Godzilla was like the biggest Godzilla. Like live action movie Godzilla anyway. I think Legendary Godzilla is now just a little bit taller, but unlike the most recent MonsterVerse films, Shin Godzilla just masterfully depicts Shin Godzilla as this massive, larger than life force. And angles like this, I absolutely love. Here's another just great shot. And this looked perfect in the theaters. I was just so taken aback the first time I saw some of this. But just I gotta say, so many of these shots are just masterfully composed. And the Shin Godzilla design itself, I kind of touched upon this earlier, but I didn't finish because I got distracted, which happens when I tomolog. The Shin Godzilla design is just one of my personal favorites. I know it's not for everybody, and it's not my number one or anything, but it's such a unique take on the Godzilla character. And unlike so many other Godzilla designs, while I'm sure, there's 30 or 40 different Godzilla designs out there, I'm sure the designers themselves and while coordinating the looks with the filmmakers, had reasons behind why they made Godzilla look like the way he did in those respective film stories. A lot of the time, it kind of it's not like the movies very rarely touch upon why Godzilla looks the way he does, why he moves the way he does. Shin Godzilla's design makes perfect sense within the context of the story, of what the movie is saying. Here we're looking at a creature that is capable of self-mutation, which is such a cool ability. And it's rather unique to Shin Godzilla. And though, yeah, I kind of touched upon this yesterday in my Godzilla power ranking list, Shin Godzilla absolutely has fans who take that ability and multiply it by a million, because there's storyboards of Shin Godzilla ascending to a cosmic level. Eventually he self-evolves into a sentient universe. That was the original plan, but it's not like these ideas ended up on the cutting room floor. It's not like they're even a deleted scene. These were all these ideas didn't make it past the storyboard process. But we can later talk about what did make it, and Shin Godzilla has a rather memorable that last scene. You guys know what I'm talking about, his 5th transformation, but we'll save that for last. Still, I like how Shin Godzilla's tail here is just so massive, and his unique glow, how he just glows eerily in the dark. He's leaving a trail of devastation, but it's still kind of left ambiguous as to why he seems fixated on Tokyo. By the way, Sean, what you said earlier about Toho letting these artists, craft some banger Godzilla animes and tokusatsu shows, 100% agree with you, my friend. And I think we're going to see more of that. We're going to see Toho. Toho has, they're expanding. I think they're no longer, it's funny how we talked about, earlier in the stream, the Shin Godzilla characters, the dynamic between the old guard and the new. And it seems to be just like the story of the human race, how, the young have to eventually, grow out of the shadow of their, not just their parents, but their elders, the eldest generation, the one that's in control, and pretty much take the reins. Usually, at least in my experience, it's not something that's given to you. You have to just take it. You have to go for it. You have to assert yourself. And for years, Toho kind of, I'd say, largely disappointed us because they played it safe. They would pretty much make the same kind of Godzilla movie. I mean, us, the initiated, we could tell the difference. Right? When we look at the Heisei Godzilla movies, obviously we could tell the difference between each of them. But like for normies, for average moviegoers, man, a lot of these movies just look the same. And that's because Toho would play it safe. They would just more or less keep doing the same thing. But now we've seen a radical change, and I think it started happening around Godzilla 2014, the launching of the MonsterVerse. Now we're really beginning to see more of, Toho go beyond their normal boundaries. I think they're growing. I think they kind of are getting, I think they've come a long way, and I really respect the hell out of what they've done. Especially given the massive success of Godzilla -1 and the MonsterVerse, Shin Godzilla. I mean, it's not only a good time to be a Godzilla fan, it's actually an interesting time to see what Toho plans on doing next. Because they have now one of their most famous characters who's been around for nearly, 70 years? Or a little bit more than 70 years? I lose count sometimes. 71 years coming on this November. Godzilla has been around for decades, and finally now he's receiving he's always been a household name, but now he's receiving global recognition. He's actually becoming respected in more like just about every corner of cinema, of entertainment, and it's pretty good. I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go check on my dog, and yeah, we'll just take a look and just stare at Shin Godzilla here. I'll leave you with this slide for now. We all know where this is going. Be right back, guys. If you're still here, it's because you are a true Godzilla fan. You are a Shin Godzilla fan. Yeah, because Shin means true. See what I did there? Yeah. Alright, I rehearsed that one. Yeah. Can I take a moment and just express that Shiro Sagisu, the music composer for this movie, just kicked so much ass. He did such a great job. He's worked on Neon Genesis Evangelion, so of course his I guess you could say his reputation precedes him. You know, it speaks for itself. But I really enjoyed the soundtrack for this movie. What I kind of I guess a little nitpick, because why not? We're talking about Shin Godzilla. A little nitpick would be the overuse of classic Showa era sound effects. I get why they did it. I totally get it. I understand. It's I in certain respects I do respect it. And I think they did it more or less. Did a decent job, a lot better than Shin Ultraman, where that was a bit more. I don't know why, but it did bother me a bit more than, because Shin Ultraman relied a lot on the Showa sound effects as well. But I kind of feel like, though, this, for a production like this, more. A more modern sound design would have gone a long way. And it wasn't just Showa era sound effects either. I mean, Shin Godzilla's energy beam is pretty much like Destroya's oxygen destroyer beam, the sound it makes. I mean, it even looks like it. But yeah, I guess just a nitpick. I mean, what do you guys think? Did it bother you? I'm sure many of you who, you're all geniuses. You have way better taste than I. Probably didn't have a problem with it, but, it's just a little nitpick. And hey, if you have nitpicks about Shin Godzilla, or what did you not like about it, or what, hey, let me know as well. Let's keep things interesting. Oh man, I missed some comments. Okay, let's see. Sean, you said earlier, Hideaki Anno works are great, but a pattern I've noticed is artists with mental struggles make great works like movies, TV shows, and books. Yeah. I think it's mainly Anno kind of relates more because I'm not sure if you are aware, Sean, but Evangelion fans are kind of aware of the fact that a lot of Anno was going through a lot of he was going through a lot of mental anguish throughout. He struggled with depression, anxiety. He absolutely had, when he was working on, you can honestly, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the first anime, is like night and day to the end of Evangelion, which is like a massive just mind-bending experience that's also heartbreaking. And shocker, that's because Anno was kind of in a dark place himself. But then more recent works, he's kind of mellowed, chilled. He's a family man, so he's become a bit more, he's become happier, kind of a bit more understanding. But I will mention real quick, though, that what's really interesting about the duality of Hideki Anno and Shinji Higuchi is that they both really complement each other well when it comes to being visual storytellers. They've even said in interviews that they help in respects carry on where the other would otherwise fail, or extreme would struggle with. And I'm fascinated by dual directors. I've always found that very interesting. I mean, I don't think it's possible to go more above that for at least a single production. Like a television show, I could see like a season having several directors. That makes sense to me. But working on the same project, I mean, 2 is in itself like that could, that's, you know, in my experience, a recipe for disaster. You know, too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal. But when you have a really great solid team that complements each other, like where one struggles, the other strength shines, and vice versa, I think you know, the two can create incredible things. And I'm curious to know if Shin Godzilla 2 is going to genuinely happen, and if so, are the original filmmakers coming back? If not, then I don't even know why they're bothering. But Sean says, I will defend the Heisei series to the death. It's my favorite Godzilla series, and Godzilla's Heisei design will always be the definitive Godzilla design for me. Hear, hear. Yes, the Heisei Godzilla series absolutely deserves way more respect. Granted, some of the movies, you know, we could pick them apart if we really wanted to be that, like, I guess, that picky. I mean, I've been nitpicky here and there throughout the Shin Godzilla stream here, but, like, overall, I think Shin Godzilla is just an amazing film, and likewise, the Heisei Godzilla movies, I mean, they're by no means perfect. I mean, I love The Return to Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Biollante. Those movies are in my, like, top 10 Godzilla movies. They are just incredible works of art. And while, like, the other later movies, maybe, like, I think the quality, like, maybe the quality, saying the quality takes a dip, goes down a few pegs, might sound a little harsh, but I think it's just more about that classic 80s filming aesthetics, which to me is so much, it's so unique. And it's a shame that, you know, the Heisei Godzilla movies kind of did begin to feel less like works of cinema and more like something you might watch on like a like on an Ultraman TV show at the time. But it cannot be denied that the Heisei Godzilla movies gave us some of the most memorable kaiju, both old and new. Their designs are just still, they hold up to this day, and some of the movies are just great. I mean, I will defend Godzilla vs. Destroya. I know there are, you know, some fellow Godzilla YouTubers out there that bash the hell out of it, and it's kind of become, I guess, a popular thing to do, you know, online, to just, you know, not only like rake the Heisei Godzilla movie through the coals, but like bash Godzilla vs. Destroya. I mean, I know even for its faults, and I'm a firm believer that a movie's faults is not something that denigrates it. I don't see as pointing out the flaws of a film as being, you know, a rationalization for, you know, bashing it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Godzilla 2014. It's one of my favorite movies. Yet I would be the first to go over line by line all the things it should have done, its flaws, the things that were keeping it from becoming a great movie. But I don't see that as being a fault, a weakness. I see that as something that is a great learning experience, something that we as fans and, you know, I guess aspiring filmmakers, storytellers can learn from, and that's great. Sean also says, I do understand that people tried to gas up Shin, but the biggest thing we have to remember about Shin is his DNA and regeneration. He evolves counter whatever is a problem for him, and there's no limit. And I really do want to touch upon more of this near the end, Sean, so let's save that for later, because Shin Godzilla's evolution and the motivations behind it I consider to be very fascinating. Okay, so we all know when we talk about Shin Godzilla, obviously the most epic part in the entire thing here is when he is you did not see that. Nobody go back and check. I mean, it's gonna happen anyway, you're gonna see it anyway. But obviously the most epic, memorable moment, like such a all-time, easily one of the greatest shot Godzilla sequences in movie history is when Shin Godzilla begins to turn up the heat. And it's so interesting because earlier he just waded through artillery, gunfire like it was nothing, and he didn't retaliate. He honestly kind of was a bit, I'd say, a little confused, maybe even slightly intrigued. Only then when the real big bombs start dropping is when he starts kicking up a bridge and getting a little, pissed off. But he gets pissed off when the United States Air Force drops some bunker buster, what are they called? MOPs, right? Moabs. Here, let me... Okay, massive ordnance air blast. Thank you, Google. So these are extremely devastating weapons. I have clashed with some of my Godzilla friends for years about how I think they think Shin Godzilla is weak because Moabs were able to pierce his skin, and I'm just like, there's conventional weapons like tank shells, artillery cannons, and then there are these, and it's funny, I just struggled to remember what the heck they were called, but that should not change the fact that I'm well aware that these weapons can hit a target that's hundreds of meters deep. They are deadly, and they would pose a significant threat to a lot of the earlier Godzillas, and even some of the most recent ones. So, and Shin had these not only pierce his skin, but blow up inside of him. It was devastating, and it pissed him off. Hence the previous shot here, where he's finally had enough. And man, the music, everything is just so eerie, so intense. Seeing this again on the big screen was just such a... It truly is like seeing Godzilla go from being the king of kaiju to becoming a literal god. It's god mode. And then one thing leads to another, and he starts just torching all of Tokyo in a way that's just unforgettable. And it just keeps getting more and more terrifying until finally it just crescendos in Godzilla just blasting Tokyo to smithereens. It's just such a... Oh my god, oh my Godzilla. Mothra be thy name. It is just so it's the stuff of legends, man. This is the kind of stuff that we grew up not only watching, happening in movies, albeit in a not nowhere near as cool as this way, but the kind of stuff we imagined, right, that we wanted to see. And holy moly, this is just... And it's truly tragic. It's not only whoa, this is epic, this is a crowning moment of awesome for Godzilla. It is terrifying. It's truly tragic, because at this point, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I care about the humans, I care about the characters, and just to see how immediately, within a few moments, Godzilla turns the most technologically advanced city on the planet to glass is just insane, like a literal sea of fire. It's just such a incredible movie. This scene in itself is just so amazing. And then Godzilla starts shooting multiple lasers out of his fins, and it's just... I remember seeing this for the first time, and my jaw literally hit the ground. I was like, no, you didn't. Are you serious right now? This just shattered my mind. I didn't think I would ever see something like this. And it's so insane. It's crazy. After destroying Tokyo, Godzilla begins to power down, and we have this shot. This is, I believe, I mean, I might change my mind here in a few seconds, but this is my favorite shot in the entire movie. It's just so well done, so well composed. I mean, this in itself was worth the price of admission alone. I would see that. I would pay money to go to my theater every day just to see this on the big screen. It's just kaiju chef's kiss. It's just perfect. Perfection. Daikaiju Dennis, hello! Good to see you. I'm pretty sure you left this comment a while ago. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not, leaving a comment. I'm not sure if you're still here or watching. If so, it's good to have you. Hope you're doing okay. Sean says, my favorite Godzilla version is Showa, the 1955 one. Oh, interesting choice. So Godzilla raids again. A rather underrated film, if you ask me. Sean says, I understand that Anno's mental struggles is what made his work like Evangelion great. I have my own mental struggles. I was even suicidal at one point, but luckily I got over it. Yeah, Sean, I'm so proud of you. That in itself is a struggle that very few understand. And I think the fact that you've managed to overcome so much is just a testament to your character, to your will, to your courage and your true nature. I think it's admirable. And thank you so much for sharing that with me. Seriously, man. Yeah, I likewise, mental health, it's something that I absolutely like. In many respects, I'm kind of like, I really do wish we treated it not only more seriously, but with more empathy. Because it's something that I think we inherently relate to. This is something that, like, we face struggles, the grind on a daily basis, and life can be... I mean, the hardest thing to do in this world is to live in it. And, oh, man. It's a rough... It can be really tough, but we got this. We're in this. We have each other's back. Sean did continue to write. However, having my own mental struggles is what makes me really relate to Hariko Anno and his works. Well said. Yeah, I totally get that too. For me, I mean, what I relate a lot to is kind of how Evangelion dabbled in not only human psychology, but the meshing of human psychology and philosophy. And it really did ask a lot of really huge, just mine at the time anyway, just huge questions that just blew my mind and made me begin to think and see the world in a different way. And I think that is the fundamental goal of what it means. That's what it means to be an artist. That's what I hope my art achieves, is to get you to like rethink things, like reevaluate, see the world in a different way, ask those difficult questions, learn more about yourself. RJ MUS, good to see you. RJ Mus, maybe. Shin Godzilla has shins. Allegedly. But we all know he could easily grow new ones. I gotta admit, one of the things that I really liked about Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One would be the really, like, just incredible way the human characters devised their anti-Godzilla plan. Like Godzilla Minus One, Shin Godzilla is a standalone kaiju adventure. Like, he's the only monster in the movie. And while it would be absolutely cool to have seen Shin Godzilla go up against some other monstrosity, we all know Hideki Anno would have come up with something truly scary, truly terrifying, and also freakishly weird that I'm sure it would have made for a great movie, and we might get that in Shin Godzilla 2 in the next couple years. Fingers crossed, right? However, I really liked the way that our heroes managed to take Godzilla down long enough to inject coagulant into his body that would essentially freeze him solid. And I thought that was such a great idea. And it was so refreshing. It wasn't like, we're going to create a new type of bomb, or, you know, out of the blue, we're going to create a Mecha Shin Godzilla or something. We're going to use our brains. We're going to work together. We're going to devise a series of strategies that will allow us to, you know, take the monster down. And it really, like, while the human characters embody, like, Japan as a whole, I mean, I think I said that earlier, but I think they represent humanity as a whole, really. And this is what this movie essentially boils down to. It's a battle between two species. On one side, you have the human race, the humans who are at this point the dominant species. They're the ones that well, now I'm definitely being human myself. I might be you know, sounding rather arrogant. But they're going up against some, like, the new kid on the block. They're going up against something that is easily threatening their place. They're like, could just not only knock them off, you know, at the top of the food chain, but wipe them out completely. So while Shin Godzilla has his self-evolution, his self-mutation, and, you know, godlike destructive powers, the humans have their science, their mathematics, their team building. We cooperate, we work together. We are social creatures. And I do think this is something Shin Godzilla himself takes notice of. He becomes aware of it, which, you know, and soon we will get to that. But I do think this is something that I think this is such a great dynamic, and it's really cool to it's neat to see how the humans prevail against such impossible odds. And it's also made worse by the fact that there was a countdown. Like, the powers of the earth, you know, the most powerful nations of the planet were planning on nuking Godzilla, with Tokyo destroyed in the process, and possibly large parts of Japan, because of the threat Godzilla posed to the world as a whole. You know, they were going to, they considered destroying Tokyo as an acceptable loss. And it was so heart-wrenching watching our characters react to the news, finding out that their homes are about to be obliterated by a nuclear bomb. And of course, this being Japan, that hits differently, since Japan is the only nation to have been bombed not only once but twice by atomic weapons. So it really does tie into the the horror, the terror of nuclear weapons, of the threat posed by them, and how they are still very much a threat. Like, they pose an existential threat to all of us. I don't want to raise, your anxiety, dear viewer, but it is also the truth. And I do think Godzilla fans tend to forget this nowadays. No, this is still interwoven. It's integral to the Godzilla character. And while I'm not like one of those kind of Godzilla fans who believes that every movie should constantly like preach the nuclear metaphor, Godzilla to me represents more than just being a nuclear metaphor. He kind of represents change, evolution, but I do think it is part of the character, and this movie really does a great job at capturing just what made Godzilla an unforgettable character and such a legendary icon, a true cinematic giant that we will always remember. And of course, if you agree or disagree at any time, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to read some comments, then we're going to get into the kind of the last part that I'm really excited to talk about, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of this, because we're going to try and get into Shin Godzilla's mind. What's his motivation? Because is he more than just a giant creature of mass destruction? Is there more to him than meets the eye? And I think the answer is yes. I will be right back, but for now, I'll leave you guys with my favorite shot of the movie. Sean says, I would like to write what Godzilla means to me, but it would be too long to put here. Well, that's what the comments section is for too, So, hey, you write it, I'll read it. So let's tackle one of the biggest mysteries of the movie. And I really love the intrigue of this. So this is Goromaki. Goromaki, of course, is a name Godzilla fans are familiar with. We've seen Goromakis come and go since the Showa era days, right? So Obviously, Shin Godzilla is its own thing. It's not connected to any of the other movies. So this character is quite the mystery, especially when we try to figure out his motivations and what sort of role he played, because in many ways it's suspected that he is responsible for the calamity, for the crisis that unfolded in Shin Godzilla. So Goro Maki is someone who basically who discovered Godzilla, who in many ways is the expert of Godzilla in this world. And not only did he discover Godzilla, he also seemed to have a bit of a vendetta, an agenda against Japan, against pretty much humanity, for abandoning his wife, who died of nuclear poisoning, radiation illness, I should say. So, what happened? What role did he play? And why is it that I think he is responsible for something else, for Godzilla's final, well, not his final form is the right word, but the one that the film closed off on. And I think Goro, you could argue, he may have merged with Godzilla, or maybe Godzilla ate him and assimilated his DNA. But I think Goro perhaps is somehow the catalyst behind not only Godzilla being drawn to Tokyo, but I think his self-evolution, his ability to mutate and learn. Because Godzilla, I have this theory, and obviously I can't read Godzilla's mind as much as it hurts to admit it. It pains me, but it's true. But I think Shin Godzilla not only was mutating his body, but was achieving a higher consciousness. But with sentience comes pain. It comes with loneliness, because you begin to become you become aware not only of the world, but you achieve this sort of consciousness, this conscientious state where you are suddenly aware that you are alone in your head. And I think what was beginning to happen, and this is, again, I think Goro Maki here is in some ways responsible, perhaps unwittingly, but I think Godzilla wasn't just evolving to counteract, to evolving to overcome the environment or the challenges of his environment, of the world he, inhabited. I think Godzilla was beginning to evolve ways, measurements to come to terms with his sentience, with the fact that he not only felt alone, but perhaps, I think there's a chance that Godzilla started evolving into these, and I'm going to share these guys now. And what a crazy ending it was to see these guys. I think Godzilla was evolving these into these Godzilla human hybrids because he not only saw the strength in numbers, he not only saw how formidable the human race had become as a collective when we work together to solve our problems, but I think he did this to counteract the existential dread of loneliness, of depression. I think this movie is kind of very, it carries on Haruko Anno's how his art represents the psychological struggles we face. I think, like, even more than that, like, I think we started seeing Godzilla become more human in the end. But I do think I have no idea if this is, of course, something that's official out there or whatever, but my takeaway is, could it be possible that Godzilla himself was beginning, he evolved into, you know, he split up into a race of Godzilla human hybrids to combat not only these feelings of loneliness and depression, but also as a direct challenge to humanity's sole remaining strength. The last thing they have that not even Godzilla with all his divine might could truly overcome. So let me know what you guys think about that, because I think it's an interesting, not to toot my own horn, but I will absolutely do it anyway. I think I think it could make for a interesting, worthwhile discussion. Oh, good. We are about an hour and a half into this. So I guess a couple things, I guess, in closing. Let's do this. So Shin Godzilla, let's just bring up my favorite image again. So Shin Godzilla is such a it's such a one of a kind movie, not just in the Godzilla in the Godzilla series, but the kaiju genre. It stands apart from the rest. It's such a interesting shot, directed film. It's got such unique character designs and interesting characters as well. It has its own identity, and it's still, even after nearly 10 years since its premiere, it still surprises me. It still captivates me. It still makes me like think more about some of its more provocative themes. And, you know, hey, I mean, it inspired this stream. I mean, that to me, like, speaks volumes. That's clearly a testament to quality filmmaking right there, right? I really do love this movie. It's just one of my favorite Godzilla movies. It's one of those films that I have a feeling I'm going to be watching again and again for the rest of my life, and upon each viewing I'm going to learn something new or notice something that I hadn't noticed before. You know, it's going to encourage me to ask questions, or I know as a VFX artist, I'm absolutely going to come back like to this frame alone right here, and I'm already taking mental notes just by looking at it. You know, I'm suddenly like, I have this profound need to make like a stop motion tribute to this shot. That would be so cool. This movie has inspired some interesting discussions in the past. I mean, I just pitched, you know, did Shin Godzilla evolve, you know, to combat loneliness? You know, that's my takeaway. That's like my little fan theory. But this movie is not without controversy, and while controversy can be all well and good, you know, it could really inspire some good, much needed discussion. When the controversies themselves seem to be manufactured, seem to be just, in my opinion, delusional, though, is when things really begin to go south. Okay, so just to name the purple glowing elephant in the room, like, what exactly do I mean? I'm not gonna name anyone because there are folks that I know and respect some friends of mine who I butted heads with them behind closed doors about this, but there still every now and then, whenever Shin Godzilla, starts trending, or people are talking about it again, this notion that this film is a work of propaganda, it's a nationalist propaganda film, rears its ugly head, and I'm just going to address it in a way that I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but I felt the need. I think it's important to bring up. No, Shin Godzilla is not a pro-nationalist propaganda piece. I've seen propaganda films. I've seen films where the filmmakers believe that their nation, their race is superior in every way, and this movie is not that. You could argue Shin Godzilla is patriotic, and to me, I think there's nothing. I don't think that's a bad thing to be patriotic. But a nationalist believes that their nation is superior, full stop, in ways that usually lead to pretty, well, consult your history book, folks. It could lead to a number of very bad things. And my response, and I have never received an answer back, every time the whole myth, this whole delusion that Shin Godzilla is a propaganda piece, it's pro-nationalism, every time this is brought up, I simply point out the obvious. In the movie itself, the Japanese people seek help from other nations. They get help from France. The United States helps them in their fight against Godzilla. They share their data with the world. If anything, this movie is the antithesis of nationalism. It really is ridiculous. It really, did you not pay attention to the movie at all? Sometimes I think people are very, they have this sort of strange notion, we're all alone in here, I'm in my head too, and I absolutely have, I might think it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. I think I'm an expert at something that I'm actually quite ignorant on, right? But these people are literally just a few keystrokes away from Googling nationalism and finding out what it means and realizing they really do sound ridiculous. And I really hope, if you're somebody who maybe, right now you're just shaking your head, you just hit the dislike button, you're just like, this Kaijutopia guy does not know what he's talking about. Fair enough. There's a lot of things I have no clue about, that I'm quite ignorant on, which is why I don't try to talk about things that I'm ignorant on. I instead will ask questions. I will do my due diligence. But all I can say to you, or just people in general that are watching, is please don't get your political commentary from blog posts, especially when it's don't base your entire ideology or your point of view of of what certain things mean based on what somebody on the internet is telling you. And I mean that I'm practicing what I'm preaching. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't take everything I'm saying at face value. Don't believe it, with complete credulity, right? Just question everything. Be skeptical. Don't take my word for it. Sean says, I've seen that criticism before and I think it's ridiculous. How does anyone think Shin Godzilla is Imperial Japanese propaganda? It literally criticizes the old Imperial way. Yeah. Absolutely. And of course, this usually leads to the other, can of worms, which is the section of the fandom, or any fandom for that matter, but we're talking about Godzilla, so I'm going to focus just on the Godzilla fandom. There are still... It's amazing how these guys are still, like, they exist, that they're actually real. But there are people who are honestly surprised almost every time a new Godzilla movie comes out and it's political. Godzilla has always been political. Since his 1954 inception, Godzilla has been political, like 100% of the time. And usually, in my experience, when someone is throwing a tantrum fit over, in this case, Godzilla, because, I'm not questioning their Godzilla fan credentials or anything. I'm seriously surprised still and concerned that if you're a Godzilla fan, and you're just like you're absolutely flabbergasted by Godzilla being political, then that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I kind of second guessing you, not to just being honest here, but I feel like if you're just like coming to terms with this, in my experience, it's only a big deal now because you feel like your political beliefs are being challenged. Honestly, it's kind of like the Amazon show The Boys, right? Where for since the very first season, that show has been subtly parroting, making fun of some rather far right minded folks, and now, of course, some of them are having an issue with it. It's like, are you serious? You're just realizing this? Come on now. This is... Or as my buddy and I earlier were talking about this very thing, like, I think it's the simplest litmus test, right? To see like where you stand morally, ethically, is if you think Homelander is a good guy or not. He's so obviously evil, such a bad person. I mean, even the actor Anthony like he is just blown away by how like there are people who seem to genuinely think he's this is a good person to cheer for. Like, no, he's not. But anyway, I digress. I don't want to pivot there. I was just using that as an example. I do think there are usually the people that start complaining about a movie or a podcaster, an artist. The moment they go, man, just don't politicize this. I can't. I just don't like how political this movie is or how woke it is. It's like you're only now getting upset because you feel personally attacked, and maybe that should be a time for self-reflection. Like, okay, why do you feel... I'm not saying the movie is right. I'm not saying your set of beliefs are wrong. But it really is a time for introspection. Like, why is the movie, like, challenging what I guess is something that you might... a worldview of yours that you just didn't realize it's Godzilla has been challenging since the very beginning. But yeah, I don't want to I think it's getting late and man, I was a little reluctant to bring all that up, but I do think it is something that, you know, we should be more aware of and prepared to, well, debunk, you know, to call this sort of thing out. And yeah, that's my Shin talk. Get it? That's my TED talk. Only that's my Shin talk. Okay. Yeah, you know, it was probably a good joke until I had to explain it. That's when I nuked it from orbit, you know, just to make sure. All right, my esteemed Gojirans, my beloved Kaijutopians, or, you know, the fine people who have been with me from the beginning and who will join us in the future long after the stream is ended. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. If you haven't liked it and you think it's worthy, give it a like. Consider subscribing. And if you can, consider donating, becoming a member today. I very much appreciate you. I love you all, and I hope you all have a great rest of the night and a good weekend, and take good care of yourselves. And don't forget, I'll see you all tomorrow because we got the Millennium Godzilla Battle Royal. Woo! More stream goodness coming to Kaijutopia in the very near future. I'll see you all later.